Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, it's Matty here, and today we have a lot of news. So, tomorrow is Pokemon Day, as we all know, and the new mini set is expected to release at the end of the month, but today we had some leaked information slash, I guess, revealed, unfortunately, early information. I don't know exactly how it all works, but basically, we know a little bit of information about the new mini set, which is probably going to be announced tomorrow on Pokemon Day. So I'm sure you guys have already seen it and other, people posting on YouTube and making videos about it. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit specifically about the cards that were shown, at least the information that we have from the cards that were shown so far. But quickly, let's go on Twitter here and we'll talk a little bit just about the information that has been shown. So yes, this is supposed to be the new mini set that is coming out either probably on the 28th, but at some point here soon, likely announced tomorrow at Pokemon Day. And it is going to be Triumphant Light, the mini set for Space-Time Smackdown. And we don't know exactly, how many cards are going to be in it, but we do know it is centered around Arceus and Arceus EX. This was a card that was shown. I know some people, I did make a post on my community page about it earlier. Some people were talking about that it's probably fake, or they were talking about how the card seemed a little bit underwhelming or strange or things like that. That's what we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about Arceus and how it is actually, I think, going to be a very, very important card to the metagame. It's going to be a very massive shift to the metagame of Pokemon TCG Pocket, because that's what we talk about here on the channel. The best decks and the best cards, all stuff that we'll cover when the set initially releases. But yes, so Triumphant Light is the title of the next mini set coming out, the single booster pack that is addition to Space-Time Smackdown. And yes, it is focused around Arceus EX. And these are just some of the posts on Twitter. So this is the pack art here for the particular pack. And as we see, Arceus EX is featured here. We do see Heatran in the bottom left. We see a Tyranitar here in the bottom right. We even see a Raichu and a Crobat. So as this post says here, what we know is that Garchomp EX is going to be coming as an EX card as well. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. But what the speculation is here is that some of these Pokemon that we see on the pack art with Arceus are actually Pokemon that have some particular synergies with Arceus, and they're meant to be played with this Arceus EX card. Again, we'll take a look at that in a little bit, but that is the pack art. And if we go here, this is the video. I'm going to turn the audio down because it was way too loud, but this is actually the video. If you can see it here. Oh, I went full screen. This is going to be kind of hard to see, but can we zoom in on the video? Let me see one sec. Let me try to, can I zoom in on it? There we go. Maybe that works for you guys. I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't plan this ahead of time, but this is the video. So supposedly this video was supposed to go on Pokemon's TikTok account, and it was uploaded earlier. So it's supposed to be very legit. It's supposed to be a completely real video, but this was the video that was shown here. We'll take a look at some screen caps, but, we're opening a pack. We see a Magnemite, we see another Eevee, another Golbat, and then we see Arceus EX here. And then they show a little bit of gameplay playing Arceus EX, attacking into what is a Garchomp EX. Very quick video. Not much that we can really see there. Not shown too much. We'll go ahead and we'll take a look at some of those details here in just a sec. But the other thing as well is that ranked battles are supposed to be coming to March as well. This is actually a really big one. We'll leave it to the end of the video where we'll talk a little bit about the ranked mode and the official, kind of ranked matches that should be coming to Pokemon Pocket and what that means, what it's probably going to look like. And then if we go down a little bit here, this is some more specific information about the particular cards. So this is Arceus EX here, and this is the card. This is the image actually that I posted on the community page. That some people have seen it. I'm sure you've seen it all over. Basically, all over YouTube, basically people making videos about this, but this is Arceus EX. So an EX basic colorless Pokemon, again, kind of really in conjunction with things like Palkia EX and Dialga, which were kind of the front runners, really the poster childs of Space-Time Smackdown. Now we're getting Arceus EX. We don't know if we're going to be getting Giratina EX as well. Definitely a possibility. We'll have to see, but this is Arceus EX. 140 HP, colorless Pokemon. I know some people thought it was strange that it had 140 HP when other basic legendary Pokemon that we've seen have, 150 HP, like Dialga and Palkia, and Mewtwo EX is another one. The thing here with Arceus, and I think a big reason why it has 140 HP as opposed to 150, is that Pokemon Pocket, the developers of Pokemon Pocket, really do kind of downscale, or I guess under-tune to an extent, colorless Pokemon, no matter kind of what they are, because that they can be used with any color, any energy type. Being colorless Pokemon, they're kind of downscaled a little bit in terms of the damage output and their HP. It's just something very common that we see. If we take a look at the ability here, Fabled Luster, so this Pokemon cannot be affected by any special conditions, any special conditions. This is a really interesting ability. I don't know if we've really seen anything like this yet in Pokemon Pocket. Maybe we have. But overall, kind of a lackluster ability to some degree. However, I do think that this is actually going to be a little bit more relevant than what we might first expect here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yes, completely unaffected by special conditions here, and as we see, it has 1 attack, ultimate force, 3 colorless energy, which is really, significant. It does 70 damage, but it does 20 more for each energy, or each, sorry, 20 more damage for each of your benched Pokemon. So if we have a full bench of 3 Pokemon, we're doing 60 plus 70, that's 130 damage. 130 for 3 energies on a basic EX Pokemon with 140 HP is really nothing to scoff at. Now, you might be expecting that this card seems a little bit underwhelming in nature, but I think what you'll see here in a little bit as we look at the next image is that this card, not only is it splashable, we can play it in really any deck because it is a colorless Pokemon, but we're likely going to get a lot of support cards and synergies between other Pokemon that are kind of meant to be paired with Arceus. I don't think you can take a card like this at face value. 130 is pretty substantial, especially if there's a way for us to get energies on Arceus a little bit quicker, but also maybe to boost this damage or to, add some special conditions to our opponent's Pokemon through some support Pokemon that might be on our bench. There's a lot of different scenarios in which Arceus EX actually could be a good card. Again, it will actually go very well with Dialga. We can power this thing up, go into it. There's going to be a lot of different scenarios in which Arceus EX, I think, is going to be actually quite viable. Again, we'll have to see, but I do think it's a lot of a better card than maybe some people are initially giving it credit for. And here is another image. So this is really, really blurry, and we can't really, pull out a lot of information from this, but basically, if we go back to the Arceus image, you'll notice one thing, and this is something different on this EX Pokemon that we don't really see in any other EX Pokemon, and that is going to be this symbol here, right in sort of the middle of the card where the text is on the background. There's this sort of holographic symbol here, and I think that this is actually going to be very, very important. I believe that this is going to be almost kind of a tag, basically, for Arceus EX and all of these subsequent cards that are going to be synergized and basically played in conjunction with Arceus EX. That's why we have this symbol here, because if we go over, you can actually see that this symbol is actually visible in these other 2 non-EX cards that in the video were actually on the bench of the Arceus EX, player when they were, playing their match against Garchomp EX. And this seems to be a Heatran and a Crobat. These are 2 new holographic cards. They both have 110 HP, but they both have abilities. Now, we don't know exactly what abilities are in play here. We do see that this Heatran ability is basically an active ability, meaning that it's not an ability that we use once per turn. It's just sort of in play, and it's sort of this overarching ability. We don't know exactly what that ability is yet, but again, basically, since we can see this sort of icon here, right, this sort of this symbol that are on these cards, we can kind of infer that these are going to be cards that synergize and are kind of meant to be played with Arceus and providing some type of buff or additional abilities for Arceus in some way. And I think that it's going to be really, really interesting to see what these cards do. I'm expecting that the attacks here aren't anything too substantial, but we do see it's a fire type and a dark type Pokemon. So there's a lot of possibilities here. Basically, what this tells me is that Arceus EX is probably going to have a lot of cards that are meant to be played with it, and in conjunction with Arceus is probably going to make it a much stronger card than it is really at face value. I think that this is an interesting way to balance a card like this. I don't know from a gameplay perspective if this is really a great way of doing it. Colorless Pokemon are nice because you can play them in a variety of different ways. Yes, there's going to be some strategies that are a bit more viable than others, but to make a card that's a colorless Pokemon like Arceus and then, design other cards that are specifically meant to be played with it is kind of interesting from a gameplay perspective. It does kind of like kind of force you into one particular playstyle if it does end up being really the only good way to play Arceus, or by far the best way to play this Arceus card. And that can be a little bit disappointing, but we'll have to see overall. We just don't exactly know what is going to be coming in the set that pair with Arceus. But like I said, Heatran here with this ability and these 2 symbols with Crobat, I think that these cards are going to be played in conjunction with Arceus, and I think it's going to be actually a big deal here. As we see here, assuming that so 70 damage plus 60 with a full bench, plus 30 with Crobat, assuming if Crobat is dealing additional damage here. That's 160 damage, which is going to KO a lot of Pokemon with Cape here. So just sort of some assumptions as we see here. There was also Raichu and Tyranitar in the pack art. These could be cards also that have these special Arceus symbols that could be used to kind of be played with Arceus and kind of make the deck a little bit more flexible, right? The way I'm imagining Arceus is that it's in its own right a very kind of standard card. It's not super broken or anything like crazy in its own right, but there might be a collection of different Pokemon that we can choose to pair with Arceus that give it certain buffs or make it stronger in certain ways, and we can kind of pick and choose which kind of Arceus archetype or way that we want to play Arceus, can be. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see exactly how this all kind of pans out. The other thing I wanted to quickly take a look at was Garchomp and the Garchomp card. So I believe here it was shown in the video. We might have to Yeah, okay. Let me pull up a separate sort of image here that people have maybe shown of Garchomp so that we can get a better look at it. Just give me one moment. All right, and here we go. So in the trailer video, in that quick little short video that was supposed to be uploaded on Pokemon's TikTok, we saw that Arceus with the Crobat and the Heatran on its bench was attacking into a Garchomp. It was doing 130 damage with its attack, so we know that maybe the Pokemon on the bench weren't necessarily buffing the attack damage of Arceus, but what we do see in this video was a Garchomp EX, and this is one that we can actually derive quite a bit of information from. We have a little bit more of a clear understanding of what this card does here. So I believe it had 180 HP or something similar of that effect. A lot of HP. It's a stage 2 Pokemon. It's actually a fighting type Pokemon, which is pretty interesting. We have Machamp EX already as a stage 2 fighting type Pokemon, and we also have Gallade EX, another stage 2 fighting type Pokemon. So interesting that we would be getting Garchomp EX, yet another stage 2 EX fighting type Pokemon. I think it's not necessarily something that we really needed for the fighting type right now, but this card is actually really, really interesting. So what we can see here is that it's got one attack here, linear attack, and I believe it does some, unspecified amount of damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. This could be the active or the bench Pokemon. So for one energy, we could hit for, looks to be maybe 30, 40, or 50 damage. On a stage 2 Pokemon to any one of our Pokemon. That's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. But it's not, it doesn't really feel that good to me. I don't know. This card as well just seems really strange. I don't know. This is one of the things that I thought was a little bit suspicious here. Again, all of this information is kind of assumed to be correct, but we don't exactly know yet. But it also has a second attack. Dragon Claw, 3 energies, 2 fighting and a colorless, only does 100 damage. So what's the downside to there? I assume Cynthia is probably going to work with Garchomp, or there might be a new supporter card or cards that buff the damage of Garchomp. We'll have to see. 100 damage for 3 energies is very, very lackluster. I think Machamp does 130. So yes, technically, if Cynthia does work with this, which I think it might, we would be doing 100 damage, 150 rather, with Cynthia for 3 energies. Again, still fairly lackluster. 150 isn't really that great of a number, considering that things like Palkia EX as basic Pokemon do 150, Mewtwo does 150, Gyarados does 140. So I don't know, it just doesn't seem that good to me. Linear attack can be strong, but again, we're also weak to grass, which is very, very interesting to me as well. Something that is a little bit of a downside, a kind of a red flag when I'm looking at Garchomp, is that we know we're a stage 2 Pokemon. Assuming the pre-evolution lines that we see here are also going to be weak to, that they're also going to be weak to grass. So with Executor running around and grass being the #1 deck in the format, it's a little bit suspect in my mind. So this Garchomp card is really, really interesting to me. I don't think that, I don't know. We'll have to see what kind of comes with it. But at first glance, this card to me does not seem like it's going to be meta to any degree. Just very, very lackluster. For some reason, Pokemon Pocket and the developers really are afraid to give us generally strong stage 2 EX Pokemon for whatever the reason. Again, they just don't often see that much play in the metagame right now for a variety of reasons. But I think the primary reason is that they're just so slow. If you're running Garchomp EX, in any stage 2 EX Pokemon, you have to run 6 cards in your deck, and it's going to take you turn 3, turn 4, maybe turn 5 to get this Garchomp EX in play. So it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and the drawback, or I guess really the upside to having this card set up in play, has to be quite high. And if it doesn't have a really high upside, it has to be a lot easier to do it, or we have other strong strategies that we can do while we set up Garchomp EX. So we'll have to see exactly what comes into it, but just looking at this card and what it does is fairly lackluster in my opinion. It doesn't seem that strong. Retreat cost of 1 is cool, but overall, I just don't know. Technically, linear attack, if Garchomp EX is getting buffed by Cynthia, technically linear attack will be able to get buffed if we're attacking the active Pokemon. So if this is, say 50 damage, technically we could be doing 100 damage for 1 energy with Cynthia. That could be quite strong, but I just don't know. To me, this doesn't seem like that strong of a card. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe we get some additional support for stage 2, stage 2 Pokemon. We'll have to see, but overall, I don't think that Garchomp EX is anything too crazy in my opinion. But like I said, we have this Heatran, we have this Crobat, which with these symbols, and if we look at Garchomp, it doesn't have the symbol, right? So it's not a symbol that's signifying every card in the set is going to have the symbol. That's not the case. It's really specific cards here, as we see with Arceus EX having that sort of Arceus symbol on the card, and Heatran and Crobat here also coming in the set also have this symbol. So I think there's going to be specific cards that are meant to be played in conjunction with Arceus EX, providing some advantages. Just looking at Arceus's ability, meaning that it's unaffected by special conditions, I think it could be interesting banishing. Maybe, you know, there's an ability that, you know, Crobat has that maybe poisons both active Pokemon, something like that. But of course, you know, Arceus would be negated by that effect. So we got to kind of keep that in mind. There could be things like that. There could be cards that synergize with Arceus that allow us to, you know, add or do special conditions to the active Pokemon. Although we already have cards that do that anyway. But, you know, maybe, again, for some reason, they wanted to balance a card like that did do status conditions by, you know, making them do, I guess, affect both active Pokemon with those status conditions, meant to be played with Arceus again, so that Arceus doesn't get affected. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff like that. This is also, like I said, a Fire-type Pokemon and a Dark-type Pokemon. And in the video, Arceus did have both Fire and Dark-type energies attacked, so there might be some synergies or some, I guess, support for dual-type energy decks. We'll have to see. I don't really know. Really, right now, the only way we would ever want to play dual energies in a deck is if having, you know, any particular one energy didn't really matter, right? Playing it in a colorless deck like this, basically because it's just inconsistent right now, at least in the game, to you know, pull any kind of particular type of energy out of the energy zone when we're playing multiple types of energy. So this Heatran here does have 2 energies and its attack cost. It seems like it does, you know, some type of damage times, you know, maybe coin flips or something like that. Crobat here for 1 energy does maybe flat 50 damage is kind of what it looks like. So these Pokemon aren't going to be super impressive from an attacking standpoint, but their abilities and the fact that they're sitting on the bench in the video that was shown probably means that there's some type of support Pokemon that are, like I said, meant to be played with Arceus because of the symbol. So yeah, very, very interesting to me. I'm very, very interested in kind of what we're going to be seeing tomorrow when the set officially releases. It's going to be kind of crazy because if we do get the official announcement tomorrow on Pokemon Day, we really will probably only have 1 day of speculation and theory crafting and planning until the set actually releases, which again was rumored to release on the 28th. We're kind of still assuming that that's the case. We don't really know per se, but yeah, I think Arceus EX is a lot better, honestly, than people give it credit for. I think that I'm a little bit worried. Excuse me, I'm sick. I'm a little bit worried if this card isn't like it's a colorless Pokemon. So you would hope that it's, you know, a good card, but it's not necessarily super broken, but you're kind of meant to be able to play it with a lot of different Pokemon in a lot of different decks. And I do think that Arceus is going to be able to be played like that. I just don't want, what I don't want is that for the strategies to be very much tailor-made to Arceus, right? I want things to be flexible. I want things to be up in the air as to sort of what the best way to play Arceus is. You know, we'll have to see. The other way that we can play Arceus, quite frankly, is with Dawn. So this is a basic Pokemon with 3 energies in its attack cost. We do have Magneton and Magnezone in the format. So one of the things that I just initially look at with Arceus is that we can play this very similar to how we play that Zapdos Magneton deck right now, where we're basically just playing Zapdos EX and the Magnezone line, and we're playing Dawn and using a sort of a Dawn combo to generate energies with Magneton on our bench, move those energies to, you know, the Zapdos or Arceus in this case, energy to that active Arceus, and then, you know, use this 3 energy attack a turn earlier. It's not a bad strategy, but it's a little bit inconsistent. So a card like this that isn't able to attack unless we have 3 energies onto it. Yes, we do have Manaphy and we have Dialga, which can again also accelerate energies to colorless Pokemon. So we'll have to see exactly, you know, what goes on here. But either way, I think that this ability here, Fabled Luster, is probably going to be a lot better than maybe people give it credit for. Maybe special conditions really do kind of rise to popularity in this mini set. Typically, they're more RNG focused, so they're not really used that much, at least in the metagame right now. Things could change, we'll have to see. But I actually do think that Arceus EX is going to be very, very good. I think once we get the full set released and we get all of the other Pokemon that are meant to be paired with Arceus, and as we saw, we do have Garchomp EX. It seems a little bit lackluster, that's just my opinion. Maybe it'll end up being good, maybe it'll have good support Pokemon. We do have Lucario, technically, but again, I think Lucario only buffs our damage to our opponent's active Pokemon, so that first attack with Garchomp just isn't going to be used. Yes, 50 damage to the bench, but yes, we can further boost that with Lucario for attacking the active Pokemon or using Sabrina, things like that. But either way, kind of interesting. I think the other thing as well, if we go back and we look at the video, what was really interesting in this video that a lot of people noticed was that there seems to be 3 different instances of the Garchomp line in on this player's bench, basically. If we freeze frame it here, I don't know if this is confirmed, but like if this Pokemon here is like a, what is it, Gabite? So a Gible, Gabite, and then Garchomp. Of course, you can only have 2 on one line. So I don't know. Some people were saying that this is a, you know, a Gabite card, and that would of course not make any sense because we already have a Gible and a Garchomp in the active spot. So we'll have to see. But you know, I don't know exactly. We do see Marshadow paired with you know, Garchomp here, so Marshadow still probably going to be somewhat relevant. Nothing else really in the hands or anything like that we can derive from here. Like we said, we have a potion, Cyrus, and a Pokeball in this player's hand here, and then the Crobat. So yeah, that's that's really all we have to talk about today. Again, a quick little update video. I know I don't typically do kind of news or speculation videos on the channel, but I did just want to make a point about Arceus because I do really think that it's going to be an incredible card. I think it's going to be very meta defining. In my mind, they're probably going to overtune this card to be very significant. Hopefully it's not too strong, and hopefully it is somewhat flexible so we're not exclusively playing it in one particular way. That's really the upside to colorless Pokemon, but again, we'll have to see exactly what comes out in the set. Tomorrow when the, we get the Pokemon Presents and we get the actual announcement, which I'm assuming we'll be getting for this, what is it, Triumphant, what is the name of the set here? I forget. It's Triumphant something. We'll get the full announcement for it tomorrow, hopefully, and we'll make another video and we'll dive right into all of the new cards, all of the new strategies. But today, leading up to the mini set, I just wanted to make a video basically at least talking about this new information that we had gotten here on Twitter. Again, I didn't want to go super in depth here. We just don't have enough information to know. But yeah, Garchomp seems pretty lackluster in my opinion. Arceus does also seem a little lackluster at first glance, but no, I actually think it's going to be quite good, especially with this new sort of, synergizing symbol that we're seeing here. I think there's going to be quite a few kind of Arceus branded Pokemon from the set that are going to make it a lot better of a card. Well, again, we'll have to see, but yeah, there it is, guys. That's the video. A little bit of an update. Hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know. We probably already know most of this information or not, but again, I just wanted to cover it at least on the channel for the people that maybe haven't seen this information yet. So anyway, peace out, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one. And yeah, bye.